Hey there, coin enthusiasts and curious collectors. Welcome back to our channel where we dive deep into the fascinating world of numismatics. Today, we're going to take a look at a coin that's been in circulation for decades, but still sparks curiosity among collectors and everyday people alike. The 1980 US 1-cent coin, or, as most of us know it, the penny. In this video, we're going to explore everything you need to know about the 1980 penny's circulating value, its significance, and how its worth can vary depending on certain factors. So if you've got some 1980 pennies lying around, or you're just a fan of US coins, stick around, this one's for you. Let's start with a quick refresher on the basics. The 1980 US 1-cent coin is made from a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, as was standard for pennies minted prior to 1982. If you've handled a 1980 penny, you'll notice its familiar design, Abraham Lee, widely circulated across the country. But how much is a 1980 penny worth today in everyday transactions? Well, the answer is simple. Just like any other 1-cent coin, a 1980 penny is worth 1 cent. That's right. Despite being over 40 years old, in terms of everyday transactions, it still holds its face value. You can still use it at any store or shop, and it's accepted by cashiers just like any other penny. However, when we look at the value of these pennies in a different light, things get a bit more interesting. While their face value is still just 1 cent, there are a few factors that can influence their worth to collectors and investors. First off, the condition of the coin plays a major role in determining its value beyond just its face value. The term we use for this is grade. The better the condition, the higher the potential value to a collector. Coins that are in pristine condition are worth much more than those that are heavily worn. A coin's grade ranges from good to mint state, with the highest grade being proof for specially minted coins. For the 1980 penny, you'll often find them in various grades, from good, which shows significant wear, to uncirculated, where the coin still has sharp details and no visible wear. But how much can these coins fetch? A 1980 penny in good condition typically has a value close to its face value, around 1 cent. The wear on the coin will be quite noticeable, and the design might be a bit worn down. Pennies in these grades can be worth a little more, especially if the details of the Lincoln Memorial and Lincoln's portrait are still clearly visible. You might find them selling for 2 to 5 cents, depending on the demand at the time. The real gems are those that have been kept in pristine condition. A 1980 penny in mint state, where the coin looks almost as if it was just struck yesterday, could sell for 20 to 50 cents or more. Some of these higher grade pennies could even be worth more if you find them in special sets or with rare mint errors. Let's talk about special varieties of the 1980 penny. While the majority of these coins are common and low in value, there are some rarer ones that collectors absolutely love, and they can make the coin much more valuable. For example, are a huge draw for coin collectors. If your 1980 penny has something like a doubled die, where the design is doubled or misaligned, or if it's an off-center strike, you could have a much more valuable coin on your hands. These errors happen when the minting process doesn't go exactly as planned, and they create unique variations. When you find one of these error coins, you could potentially sell it. The 961 1-cent coin, known for its iconic design, historical significance, and minor changes over the years, this coin has a story to tell. The 1961 US 1-cent coin, also known as the penny, is one of those coins that might seem simple at first glance, but there's so much more to its history than meets the eye. So let's break down its history, design, production, and what makes the 1961 penny unique in the world of coin collecting. The 1961 penny features the same design that was introduced in 1909 when it became the first U.S. coin to feature a portrait of an actual historical figure, Abraham Lincoln. Designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, Lincoln's image has graced the obverse, or front, of the penny ever since. On the obverse, we see the famous bust of President Abraham Lincoln. This design remains one of the most recognized images in American coinage. The words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" are also clearly visible, along with the date 1961 near the bottom. The 1961 penny is no exception to this iconic design. One interesting detail is the placement of the date and mint mark. On the 1961 penny, you'll notice the date is positioned just below Lincoln's shoulder, with the mint mark to the right of the date. Was struck in 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Speaking of mint marks, if you find a penny with no mint mark, that means it was minted in Philadelphia. A D would indicate Denver, while an S marks a coin from San Francisco. These mint marks are small, but they're very important for collectors when determining rarity and value. On the reverse side of the penny, we see the words United States of America, UPS, UMB, and 1 cent. Below that, 2 stalks of wheat are depicted, flanking the inscription EPM among others, Penny Prescott, which translates to out of many, one. This wheat design, also by Victor Brenner, was used for 1909 to 1958. In 1959, the design of the reverse changed to honor the Lincoln Memorial, which is still the design featured on the penny today. But in 1961, the reverse still featured the classic wheat stalks design. This was the last year this reverse design appeared on the penny, making the 1961 penny quite special in that sense. The wheat design was a symbol of the country's agricultural roots, a tribute to the American farmer and to the bountiful land that helped shape the nation's economy. Now, let's talk about how the 1961 penny was produced. In 1961, the U.S. Mint was still using the same production methods that had been in place for decades. Coins were struck using presses and dies, and each mint produced millions of pennies that were distributed into circulation across the country. In 1961, a total of over 2 billion pennies were struck across the U.S. mints, with the bulk of them coming from the Philadelphian Mint. If you find a 1961 penny with no mint mark, that's the one minted in Philadelphia. Denver and San Francisco struck much smaller amounts of these coins that year, which makes the D and S mint-marked coins a little more interesting to collectors. Here's an interesting fact. In 1961, the total mintage for the penny was divided as follows. Over 2 billion coins were produced in Philadelphia, while nearly 200 million were struck in Denver and a little over 30 million in San Francisco. 1961 was a significant year in American history. John F. Kennedy had just taken office as president of the U.S., was in the middle of the Cold War. There was a sense of optimism, but also tension as the nation focused on space exploration, civil rights, and the ongoing conflict in Vietnam. The 1961 penny, like many coins from this era, carries with it the spirit of the early 1960s, politically, socially, and culturally. The image of Lincoln on the coin served as a symbol of unity and hope during turbulent times. For collectors, the 1961 penny is relatively common, but it's still a sought-seeker coin. The value of these pennies in today's market largely depends on their condition. If you have a well-preserved penny in mint condition or one with an error, it could fetch more than its face value. A typical 1961 penny in good condition might be worth only a few cents, but if it's in uncirculated or higher grade condition, it can go for a bit more. Grading plays a huge role in the world of numismatics. If your penny has sharp details, no major wear, and a clear mint mark, it might be graded as mint state and could be worth a few dollars. On the other hand, a coin in lower grades might only be worth its face value. So there you have it. The 1961 penny might seem like just another common coin, but it has its place in history as a piece of American culture and numismatic interest. Whether you're a collector or just curious about U.S. currency, these coins serve as a reminder of the nation's past and the history embedded in its smallest pieces of change. The 1, 9, 7, 6, 1 cent coin, or bicentennial penny, was produced in honor of the United States' 200th anniversary. In 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed, and this coin was issued exactly 200 years later, symbolizing this milestone in American history. But what makes it stand out from other pennies? Let's take a closer look. First, let's examine the design. The obverse, or front, of the 1976 penny features the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor D. Brenner. This design has been standard on the U.S. 1 cent coin since 1909, but what makes this particular coin special is the reverse. The 1976 penny features a unique, modified version of the reverse design. Normally, the reverse of the penny shows a simple depiction of the Lincoln Memorial. However, for 1976, in celebration of the bicentennial, the reverse of the penny was redesigned to feature a new image, the image of the ultimate leader of America, Donald T. Truman, which is also where the phrase E pluribus unum and United States of America are engraved. This modification is the result of a larger series of special bicentennial coin designs released across all U.S. denominations in 1976. You've probably seen the famous quarters with the patriotic bicentennial quarter, but the 1976 penny also got a slight redesign to mark this important year. Now, let's talk about the value of the 1, 9, 7, 6 1 cent coins, specifically the circulated ones. If you found a 1976 penny in your pocket, change. It probably won't make you rich, but that doesn't mean it's completely worthless. In terms of circulated value, a 1976 penny is worth, well, 1 cent. It's still legal tender, just like any other penny you'll find in circulation today. But that doesn't mean all 1976 pennies are created equal. The value can vary depending on factors like the coin's condition, mint mark, and whether or not it's a special variety. In general, for most circulated 1976 pennies, you're looking at a value of just 1 cent. However, if you're lucky enough to find a 1976 penny in pristine or near uncirculated condition, it could be worth a little more. Coins that are graded uncirculated, or MS65 or higher, can sometimes fetch around 10 to 20 cents at auction, depending on the market. Grading is an important part of determining a coin's value. Coins are graded based on factors like their surface quality, wear, and collection. For 1976 pennies, be sure to inspect their condition carefully. Next, let's talk about the mint marks. The 1976 penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most 1976 pennies you find will be from Philadelphia or Denver, and these can usually be identified by their mint marks. Pennies with the S mint mark from San Francisco are often seen as more desirable by collectors, especially in higher grades, because they were minted in smaller quantities. But again, for most circulated pennies, the value remains minimal unless the coin is in near perfect condition. Speaking of special varieties, there's another type of 1976 penny that collectors love: the proof coin. These were minted for collectors, not for circulation, and feature a higher level of detail and a shiny, mirror-like finish. Proof coins can be quite valuable, especially if they're well preserved. A 1976 proof penny in high-grade condition could sell for $1 to $3 or more, depending on the market and demand. So, let's sum it all up. A typical circulated 1976 penny is worth exactly 1 cent. But If you have one in pristine condition, it could be worth a little more, maybe 10 to 20 cents. Proof coins and San Francisco minted pennies, the 1-cent coin, or as most of us know it, the penny. Specifically, we'll dive into the history of the penny from the year 1981. Whether you're a collector, a history enthusiast, or just curious about the change in your pocket, this video is for you. Before we dive into the details of the 1981 penny, let's take a moment to understand the penny's long-standing role in American currency. The U.S. 1-cent coin has been in circulation since 1793, with its designs and materials changing over time. The penny, often undervalued in terms of purchasing power today, has had a significant role in the history of U.S. currency. The penny has gone through several iterations, from the classic flowing hair designs to the famous Lincoln penny, introduced in 1909. But by the time we reached 1981, the design had remained relatively unchanged for decades, with President Abraham Lincoln gracing the obverse of the coin. However, in 1981, the penny wasn't just any ordinary coin. It was part of a significant year in U.S. monetary history. Let's rewind just a bit further. In 1965, the U.S. government passed the Coinage Act, which had a major impact on the composition of U.S. coins. Before this change, the 1-cent coin was made mostly of copper, but with rising copper, the government decided to make a change. By 1981, the penny was primarily made of copper-plated zinc, weighing just 2.5 grams. This shift was part of an effort to keep production costs low while still maintaining the familiar appearance of the penny. You see, in 1981, it cost the U.S. Mint more to produce each penny than the coin was worth. Despite this, the penny continued to be a central part of daily transactions across the country. In 1981, the design of the penny remained the same as it had been since 1909. On the obverse, we see Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. His image, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, has become one of the most enduring symbols of American currency. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparro, has been featured since 1959. However, 1981 wasn't just any regular year for pennies. It was part of the final years before the transition to a new reverse design. But more on that in a bit. Now, let's take a quick look at the economic context of 1981. The country was experiencing high inflation and a tough recession. Interest rates were soaring, and people were feeling the pinch of rising prices. During this time, pennies, along with other small, has been widely debated. The rising cost of production, the digitization of payments, and the push for more efficient coinage have led some to question whether the penny will be around much longer. While the 1981 penny continues to be a nostalgic reminder of a different time, the reality is that the penny's circulation is becoming less and less significant in today's economy. So, where does that leave us? The 1981 penny is not just a small piece of currency. It's a snapshot of a bygone era. It was minted at a time of high inflation, economic uncertainty, and a national debate about the future of small coins in the U.S. It's a coin that holds value not just in cents, but in the stories it tells about American history. So there you have it, the story of the 1981 penny, a coin that holds more history than meets the eye. Whether you collect pennies or just happen to find one in your change, it's amazing how much a small coin can tell us about the past. If you're interested in more coin history and fun facts about U.S. currency, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep your change close and your history